Lord is God. The Lord his God is with him, and the shout of the king is amongst them. God bring them out of Egypt. He has strengthened, he has strengthened them, him like a wild ox. For there is no sorcery against Jacob, nor any divination against Israel. It now must be said to Jacob and of Israel, oh, what God has done. Let the people rise like a lioness and lift itself up like a lion. It shall not be it shall not lie down until it devour the prey and drink the blood of the slain. Then Balak said to Balaam, neither curse them at all, but bless them at all. No, bless them at all. So Balaam answered and said to Balak, did I not tell you, saying, all that the Lord speak that I must do?
All right, thank you. If you haven't had it already, don't forget to highlight verse 19, 23:19. 23:19. God is not a man that he should lie, nor a son of a man that he should repent. That's a very famous passage in the Bible, Numbers 23:19. Anyway, we're in our second oracle or second prophecy cycle. The first one we know had went up to the high place. Balak stayed there. He did his offering, burnt offering, and he had his bulls and his rams. And he was doing his 7 altar offering there in chapter 23, verses 1 through 12. Balaam went off. God spoke to Balaam. Balaam said, verse 8, how should I curse whom God has not cursed? And then basically we got to the second oracle because they decided to try this thing again. Balak figured maybe God will have a different report if we change location. So they went to a lower place into the valley. And that's the section that we just read here. Same situation. Balaam went off. Balak stayed back with his 7 altars and offerings. God put a word in Balaam's mouth. Balaam came back and gave a similar report with different wording. Basically saying not only is it the fact that he won't be cursing them, but these people who they want to be cursed are going to be extremely blessed to the point where, now we get to verse 24, the people will rise up like a lioness, lift itself up like a lion, and shall not lie down until it devours the prey and drinks the blood of the slain. And to that response, Balak had very similar to what we probably would have said was, don't even curse them or bless them. But Balaam's response in verse 26 is another good verse to highlight as for memory's sake. Did I not tell you, saying, all the Lord speaks that I must do? So now we are in our third prophecy. We didn't touch on this last week, so let's break this down. Someone could read for us verses 27 through verse 2.
And Balak said unto Balaam, come, I pray you, I will bring thee into another place. Peradventure, invoke he God that thou mayest curse me them from thence. And Balak brought Balaam unto the top of the fjord that looked toward Jezreel. And Balaam said unto Balak, build me here 7 altars, and prepare me here 7 bulls and 7 rams. And Balak did as Balaam had said, and offered a bullock and a ram on every altar.
Yep, and then to verse 2.
And when Balaam saw that it pleased the Lord to bless Israel, he went not at other times to seek for enchantment, but he set his face toward the wilderness. And Balaam lifted up his eyes, and he saw Israel abiding in his tents according to their tribes, and the Spirit of God came upon them. Okay, really quick, right? This is the third time that they have gone through this prophecy scenario. It's the third set of altars. 7 was on each. So 7 times 3 is how many? 21, right? So this is a lot of work
on Balak's side. Meaning it's not that Balak is just twiddling his thumbs, like someone put a prayer request in and say, well, you go to church and pray for me and come back at 1, 2 o'clock and let me know how the prayer went, right? He's doing not only physical work, but emotional and spiritual, and he's invested in here. 21 altars, 21 sacrifices. He is doing some work. Just keep that in the back of your mind. Okay, now we have a new place. The translation for the location they're at in verse 28 is a wasteland. So they went from a mountain first time to a valley the second time to a wasteland the third time. But this time was very different in chapter 24, verse 2, is that Balaam raised his eyes and he saw who? Israel. Now, Balak has been described. Remember last week, Balak said, man, they're so big, even if you just see the little outskirts of them, you would be totally upset like I am. So basically, Balaam can see them in camp according to their tribe, and the Spirit of God came upon him. Now, according to their tribes is a big deal because remember how they were laid out. Remember they were laid out north, south, east, west. Then they had the tabernacle in the middle, and then they had the Levites around them. So it would look very intimidating, meaning they weren't just set up randomly out. They had a very set structure of how they were set up everywhere they went. So visibly, from an attack standpoint, it would be very difficult to find a vantage point, even if you were looking down at them, because you've seen that they were very much strategically set up all around each other. So if one area broke, remember we looked at that several months ago, the other areas would come to the aid. So that's the difference that we have here from a military standpoint, why that's also a big deal. Okay, let me read verses 3 through 9 just to touch this third prophecy. Then he took up his oracle and said, the utterance of Balaam, the son of Beor, the utterance of the man whose eyes are open, the utterance of him who hears the word of God, who sees the vision of the Almighty, who falls down with his eyes open wide. How lovely are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling, O Israel, like valleys that stretch out, like gardens by the riverside, like aloes planted by the Lord, like cedars beside the water. You shall pour water from his buckets, and his seed shall be in many waters. His king shall be higher than Agag, and his kingdom shall be exalted. God brings him out of Egypt. He has stretched like a wild ox. He shall consume the nations, his enemies. He shall break their bones and pierce them with his arrows and bows down. He lies down as a lion, and as a lion, who will rouse him? Blessed is he who blesses you, and cursed is he who curses you. Okay, remember when we're looking through this, and he's mentioning Jacob and Israel, and he's using a pronoun of him and he. He's speaking about the whole nation, right? We go all the way back to Joseph's dad and how he had so many kids, and God changed his name to Israel, and this is the tribes of Israel, and all this is how we kind of got to where we are here. So Balaam looks out and he sees this, and he's giving praise to the way that they have grown and flourished physically, giving praise to God for bringing them out of Egypt, and then giving the proclamation, much like he did in the second prophecy, that the Israelites will consume their enemy, break their bones, pierce them with arrows. He has the same imagery come back of a lion, and then he ends it with, blessed is he who blesses you, right? So blessed is the person or the nations that bless the nation of Israel, and cursed be the person or the nation that curses the nation of Israel. Okay, let's look at question number 8. Where was Balaam now taken to pronounce a blessing? Wasteland, right? If you have a different translation, Jeshimon, right? Wasteland. Question 9. What was different about Balaam's approach to this prophecy in contrast to the other two? Not Balak the king. Balak's doing the same thing. What's different with Balaam?
He saw Israel.
Okay, he saw Israel. Good.
He turned his face towards the wilderness.
Okay, he turned from the wilderness. Good. And then look at verse 1 of 24 too.
He was happy the Lord wanted to bless him.
Good, okay. And right before the wilderness, what does it say about sorcery in the first verse of 24? Yep, he didn't go. It says he did not go as other times to seek to use sorcery, right? He didn't go like the other two times to seek And instead, he turned towards the wilderness, and when he seen the people, it said the Spirit of God came upon him. All right, keep that in your mind. We'll come back to that. And then summarize the third prophecy. So basically put verses 3 through 9. It's repetitive from the other two, but just kind of summarize it. First, you can skip 3 through 4 because that's just like the intro.
So basically, that they're gonna grow.
Yep.
Water will flow from them. They're gonna be abundantly blessed.
Okay.
He's just pretty much reiterating all the blessings and all the goodness that God has done for Israel.
Physically, right? All their physical blessings. So the people are going to grow numerically. Their kingdom will rise above the world powers in that area. And basically, anyone who will bless them will be blessed. Anyone who curses them will be cursed. All right? So in your mind, keep what Balak had been doing 21 times. Keep the difference that Balaam did this time, not seeking to use sorcery, which is said was the other 2 times, and how the language is getting a little bit more progressive each one of these 3 prophecies. All right, let's look at the 4th one, and then we'll summarize this entire 4-step process here. Let's read. Someone read for us verses 10 through 14.
And Balak's anger was kindled against Balaam, and he smote his hands together. And Balak said unto Balaam, I called thee to curse mine enemies, and behold, thou hast altogether blessed them these 3 times. Therefore now flee thee to thy place. I thought to promote thee unto great honor, but lo, the Lord hath kept thee back from honor. And Balaam said unto Balak, Speak I not also to thy messengers, which thou sendest unto me, saying, If Balak would give me his house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the commandment of the Lord, to do either good or bad of mine own mind. And what the Lord said, what will I speak? And now behold, I say to my people, Come therefore, and I will advertise thee with what this people shall do to thy people in the latter days.
Okay, thanks. Now someone read for us 15 through 20.
He took up his discourse and said, The oracle of Balaam, the son of Beor, and the oracle of the man whose eyes open. The oracle of him who hears the word of God, and knows the knowledge of the Most High, who sees the vision of the Almighty, fallen down, yet having his eyes uncovered. I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not near. A star shall come forth from Jacob, a scepter shall rise from Israel, and shall crush through the forehead of Moab, and tear down all the sons of Shif. Edom shall be a possession. Seir is the enemy, its enemies also will be a possession, while Israel performs valiantly. One from Jacob shall have dominion, and will destroy the remnant from the city. And he looked at Amalek, and took up his discourse, and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his end shall be destruction.
Thanks. And someone read 21 through 25.
Then he looked on the Kenites, and he took upon his oracle, and said, Firm is your dwelling place, and your nest is set in the rock. Nevertheless, Cain shall be burned. How long until Ashur carries you away captive? Then he took upon his oracle and said, Alas, who shall live with God? Who shall live when God does this? But ships shall come from the coast of Cyprus, and they shall afflict Ashur and afflict Eber, and also shall Amalek until he perishes. So Balaam rose and departed and returned to his place. Balak also went his way.
All right. Let's look at question 11. What was Balak's reaction to Balaam's previous prophecy?
He's still mad because he's blessing Israel.
Yeah, you're doing the opposite now.
Extremely mad, right? It said he struck his hands together, right? And Balak said, I called you to curse my enemies, and look, you have bountifully blessed them these 3 times. So he's good with math. He's not slow. And then what was Balaam's response? Balaam went past the same thing he said these other times and went all the way back, not even to the second time that people came to grab him, but the very first time they came to grab him. He said, I already told your messengers what?
I will not go beyond the word of the Lord.
Okay.
Not do my own thing.
Good or bad, right? I can't say anything else unless it's whatever God said. God tells me to speak, I must speak. I told you that all the way back when you sent your messengers, right? So now we have a shift, because the next thing Balaam said is in verse 14, now indeed I am going back to my people. Come, I will advise you what this people will do to your people in the latter days. right? I will advise you what this people will do to your people in the latter days. Question 12, why did Balak not honor Balaam? We already kind of touched on that. Obviously, it's because he's upset. But let's look at 13. Let's summarize, because this one is different, because now we're getting into more specifics, right? So what is Balaam saying in verses 15 through 24? We don't have to get specific by each nation, but just overall, what is he talking about here? Israel's going to take over, right? And if Israel takes over, what is he implying that will happen to these people, these nations of people that aren't Israel? They're going to be destroyed, right? So when he's mentioning these people, he's talking about their future destruction, because he said in 14, I'm going to show you what this people will do to your people in the latter days. Some of these names we see and we remember: Moab, Edom. Some of them are kind of new in terms of our context. Kenites, yep, Amalek, and Asher, Cain, right? You can go back if you have cross references, but these are chapters and lessons previous for months and months ago, basically based off of their geographical location, right? Let's see. Anything else to highlight in here? Verse 20 is interesting. Now he looked at Amalek, and he took up his oracle and said, Amalek was first among the nations, but shall be last until he perishes. Then he starts going into Kenites and all this. Now it's interesting that most of these people, nations, however you want to describe them, have no reference to us whatsoever outside of this verse in today's standing. You can look at human history and see different cultures that have been wiped out by conquering since the dawn of time all over the globe. So what's happening here is God is basically cleansing out these people, right? Because for victory to come to one, the prophecy is destruction will come to the other here. Then it talks about Asher being carried away in captivity, and then 24 kind of summarizes and starts talking about from coast to coast, basically. And then verse 25 is a direct difference between the other three prophecies, because what happens after Balaam says all of this in verse 25?
He stands up and leaves.
They just bounce, right? Like there's no more altars, there's no more high place, low place, wilderness. It's done, right? Balak has seen enough, Balaam has said enough, and they departed and went their ways. So when we look at this in a totality, before we go to chapter 25, a couple of things. When you ask God for something, we spoke the first week we looked at this, is don't get down on Balak, because we normally do the same thing. We usually change our location, change our posture, change our clothes, get a haircut. When we want God to do something, we try to figure out the best way to try to make it seem like God is judging us based off of physical things. But God said to Samuel when he was looking for his next king, who was David, man judges by outside, but I judge by where? The heart. Now, first of all, we know the first two prophecies, Balaam, who is a prophet, based on verse 20, chapter 24, verse 1, was going to seek sorcery, right? So you can't go to the tarot card reader or look in a horoscope Sunday morning and put a prayer request about the same thing. God don't work that way, right? You figure, well, one of these is going to help. It's either going to be the horoscope or the tarot card, or it's going to be God's blessings through my prayer request during Lord's Supper. Don't work like that, right? Because James said, when you come to God, first and foremost, when you're trying to approach him, you can't doubt, right? You have to come to him firm on what you're asking, because God don't operate off of a foundation of doubt. This is why when people are about to fall away or falling away, usually you'll have some conversation with them, and it usually comes from some tragedy or something that happened, and then they start basically shaking their fists up to heaven, wanting proof to God. God don't operate like that. So it's best to tell them that, right? If that's what you're looking for, no reason to have Bible study, because I can show you chapter and verse where God don't work off of ultimatums like that. Basically, show yourself to me in this Bible study, or I'm about to fall away from church. God be like, well, you might as well don't let the door hit you, or I done split you, because I don't operate that way. right? We can see all throughout this Bible where he doesn't operate that way off of doubt. He operates off of Hebrews 11, where we have this faith chapter of 1 and verse 6, which basically says what? You may not quote it, but summarize it. What does Hebrews 11, verse 1 and 6 tell us about God and our interaction with him? Hebrews 11:1 and Hebrews 11:6. Very famous scripture. Hebrews 11:1 and Hebrews 11:6.
Yeah, that's
Without
it.
faith, it's impossible to please God.
Okay.
And faith is a substance.
Faith is the substance of things hoped for.
The evidence.
Something's not seen.
That's 11:1. Yep. And then Aaron, without faith, it's impossible to please him because why?
Those who come to God must first believe that he is, and that he's a rewarder of them that diligently seek him.
Okay.
So,
See, this is why I say all the time is sometimes we waste time in a Bible study. People say, how is that a waste of time? Because even what did the person that was going to Jesus when Jesus was basically saying, I'm kind of on a mission here and you aren't a Jew, so I got to kind of keep it moving. And Jesus and the person went back with this little riddle about crumbs and pigs and dogs and swines and kind of all this, basically saying, at least even if it's for the children, the crumbs come off, we can grab a little bit on the ground. And Jesus said, okay, now you thinking like me. I like this. Because basically you're saying is, I understand your primary focus, but even being around the remnant, the benefit, the hem of your garment is still a blessing. That's faith. The difference is somebody who has that much faith saying, I don't even need the whole word, the whole bread of life. I just need the little crumbs. I don't even need Jesus to make eye contact with me. I just need the hem of his garment. Or the soldier that said, even if you speak in the future down miles away and my daughter or my servant will be healed. And Jesus in those instances highlighted those people's faith because of belief. Then you look at the flip side of somebody doubting in a Bible study or in their life. What is the correlation? Because you have to have faith and believe that God is who he says he is, first and foremost. This is why a lot of people struggle with church, because they struggle with faith. People who fall away have no faith. It's hard to hear that, but that's the truth, because we just read what faith is, right? If you don't have faith, you don't know anything about this evidence. Think of a courtroom in substance. So what are you looking for doubting in a Bible study when faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen? You don't have the evidence, so you don't have faith. Just like if you in a courtroom, another person is banging you out with evidence, and you're the client like, man, you don't got no evidence for us on this side? He's like, I don't have no evidence. We're going to lose this case. Same thing with spiritual. You got to have some faith first and foremost to even get past these initial blockers. And this is the same thing with Balaam and Balak's situation. Even though Balak was doomed, meaning if we had walked by the mountain, walked by the valley, walked by the wilderness, and Balaam was already gone, we would say, look, this guy is a spiritual religious man. He'd been doing all this work. 21 times he'd been making altar. Man, God probably going to answer that person's prayer. That's what we do sometimes, even in church. Man, look, that person always coming Sunday and Wednesday too. They always go to men's retreat. They always go to ladies' day. Man, God must be blessing them real good. Looking at outside, right? What about inside? That's the difference. We have to make sure that we're not judging based off of outside, right? Look at when it says in Timothy and Titus about picking elders and deacons. Churches do this all the time. When it's time to pick elders and deacons, people do popularity contests. Who's the most popular should be elder or deacon. No. Who already serving should be deacon. Meaning if you go to a picnic and you see brother here or old people here and sisters here, visitors here, and whoever brother you about to put name down for deacon, you don't never remember them taking no garbage out, letting somebody eat before them, picking up people. No way you should give them a deacon, because deacon is service work. We talking about popularity. Popularity don't help me when I gotta eat. I need a ride. I need somebody to open a church building early. I need to start this crusade up. What is popularity gonna do for that? But people start voting on the outside, not based off of the qualifications of the inside. Much like job application. Most of the time, people get a vibe. But first of all, they either like your resume or don't. They get a vibe. But if you had a very qualified person over here with no connect, and mediocre qualified person over here, but people interviewing them know them already, this person most likely going to get a job, because in life, it's not what you know, it's who you know in corporate world. Right? So that's a bias. We can't be that way in church. We have to judge based off of what people are doing. And that's very difficult for us, because we'll say, well, I know this person longer, so we should say this person should be the teacher over this, not over who's more qualified. That's the same thing happens from spiritual standpoint. People at your job or your friends and family know you go to church a lot. So when things happen, they say, hey, can you pray for me? Because they assume that you are a religious and spiritual person. Hopefully that's true, but that's their assumption based off of appearance. They don't know anything about what you do here. We could come here and sleep for all they know. They don't know that, but they just know you go to church a lot and I don't. And I know church solve problems, so can you go to your God and pray about this problem? This is people have perception. Now look at denomination. People assume because a church is big or people dress a certain way or don't marry or don't eat, oh, those are the most religious people, because they're even giving up food on certain days of the week or times of the year. Man, I could never do that. They must be way more religious or spiritual than I am. And it doesn't work that way. But this is some ancient time that we can look and make fun of. No, this is just how it is now. Some people want something from God and their attendance will increase like you never believe. They be the first one you thinking, hey, where you came from? And then God don't give them what they want. And just like this verse said, Balak and Balaam went their separate ways. This happens all the time because people basically go off of what they can see. But God doesn't always work that way. Right? Remember when it was a whole situation of God showing himself and it was thunder, loud noise and all that, but God was just in the quiet little whisper, meaning God is not like us, like we are shown, right? We felt Jesus should be king visibly, and Jesus came riding in on a donkey, right? We'd have been like, no, you need a good horse. First of all, you need a parade before you get in. Then you should be an hour late, because all famous people late. Then when you come in, you should have fireworks and lights, and you should have horses and music. Jesus just came in so regular. Where people like, what is this? A donkey? Even poor people have that. Jesus born where? Come on, man, a birth. Look, famous birth is a big deal, right? Come, people want to see the picture. This guy is born where animals eat. You say, man, you couldn't do no better than that? No, there's no room in the inn. God's ways is nothing like our ways, but it's a struggle with humanity because we're so visual and showy. So when God don't operate that way in the answering of our prayers, sometimes we take his yes for a no and say, oh, I guess God said no. And God said, why do you think I said no? Because I asked for this and you didn't do it. And God may say, look, I did do it. We say, nope, never mind. That's not what I wanted. That's not what I accepted or expected. And that's not how I expected to receive whatever I asked for. And sometimes we miss our blessing. That's how God works, right? A couple weeks ago, somebody came in. They expressed they had a physical need. The very next week, Sister Beulah had food for them for their need. Was a person here? No, Beulah don't have no need. Not for no food. We don't have need for food here. People need food. We give food or money. That was his problem. That's not our problem. Most of us are already full here. He came here hungry. If he would have came one more week, he'd have his food, right? Did he come? No. So he said, oh man, God not out here helping people no more. Mr. Beulah was like, I have food for you. Where were you? See, that's how people are. People miss their blessings all the time, because they have some other agenda going on in their mind, and God is saying, look, you couldn't be patient, or you went the wrong way. I didn't tell you to go that way. I had something laid out for you, and you chose another path. This is also what's happening here, because Balak is keep pressing the issue. Again, it's not like he sent for Balaam and said, these people are coming. They look very powerful. We heard something about them. Can you go to God and ask him what's going to happen to us? Maybe God would have said, man, it's good. Actually, you could join up with the Israelites, or they'll skip you by. Who knows? Because he didn't ask that. What he asked was, can you curse these people sight unseen? What kind of nonsense is that? So that is how we operate sometimes. Sometimes we're not praying the right way. We're not going to God in reverence. So it's not that God would have said no to our request in terms of what we really were asking. It's that the approach is wrong, and he's saying, this is not my will now, because how you're coming to me is not in reverence or the right way. And a lot of times that's how we fall into a trap like this. Yes, sister.
Yeah. Couple of things. We have been studying this for the last couple of weeks, and a couple of things. One of them is, look how messed up Israel is. Israel is so messed up, and yet, regardless of how messed up they are, God is still there for them. And then the other thing is, Balak and Balaam are having this warfare, this fight, this whatever they're doing. Israel doesn't even know about it.
Yep.
Think about it. Israel is there in the valley trying to get across. They don't care. You know what I mean? They don't even know that people are trying to attack them. They don't even know that somebody already went to God asking to curse them. And what I'm saying is that it's amazing how God works, because isn't that how your enemy works?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Most of the time, if you don't know what they're doing, you know, you wonder what's happening. You know, things are happening in your life, things are going on. You wonder how on earth. But the fact about it is that Israel, at this point, even though they were so messed up before, even though they sinned so much, even though they had millions of future sins, at that point they were blameless. You know, at that point they didn't do anything wrong. So God actually protected them.
Yep.
You know, so I think that's a very, very profound lesson, because, you know, we tend to think that we don't sin, we don't do anything wrong, but the fact is that God still helps us, you know, regardless. You know, long as we're his child, you know.
Yep. No, that's a good point, because if you just go back, maybe from 19, but if you just look back just a couple chapters, remember they're in the wilderness because they didn't believe. Remember, let's look at Israel for a second, to Sister Karen's point. They had a chance to go grab their blessing, and they messed up. Remember, 10 spies said no, 2 said yeah. The whole thing, the 10 spies and families died. They go into the wilderness. The people said, we made a mistake. We're going to go take the land anyway. Moses said, that's not a good idea. Get out the way. Those people died. They went to the wilderness. Miriam died, Moses' sister. Moses is supposed to speak to the rock. Out of frustration, he hits it. The people are complaining. God said, you'll never get into the promised land. They go by. Edom refuses passage. Remember, they had a small victory in 21 because the second time they approached God the right way, and God blessed them with their passage that way. But they are where they are, struggling spiritually. But these people are looking from what God has done already, saying these people can beat us. Sometimes the way we look at ourselves is not accurate. It's like somebody looking in the mirror and saying, man, I'm fat. I'm like a whale. And you thinking, well, that's very strong imagery. I mean, whale is pretty big. I mean, it's not really seeing that. But the person say, no, look. And you looking, trying to see, what does that person see? Perception is people's reality, right? Sometimes you feel so down and out, but other people may say, you are blessed beyond measure. You say, no, I'm not. Look at this thing and this thing. Person say, yes, I'm listening. What else? What else? This thing. They say, you still blessed. That's how this situation is. These people are down in this little encampment going through what they're going through. We spent chapters looking at that. But from what the other outside looking down is saying, these people can take us because look what God has already done, which is what they should have thought within themselves as the Israelites when the 12 spies came back, say, we can take this land because look what God has already done. Sometimes we get discouraged in a moment of an issue or situation because we forget what God has already done. Meaning if God already proved to you he can do all things, why are you broken at the sight of turmoil or frustration or conflict or issue or burden? That's the difference too. So when we look at this, these people are minding their business. They don't know anything about what's happening with these blessings and cursing and this animal and the angel and bulls, rams, and all these altars. They're just living their life, much like us. Sometimes people don't like you, you don't even know it. You just living your life. And somebody say, oh, you know so-and-so don't like you. You say, man, really? I don't even know that. What I do with that? I don't know. That's just how life is. Sometimes you smile the wrong way, your shoe is untied, you limp a certain way. People say, oh, I don't like you now. Wow, I don't know. Something about you, I seen you, I don't like you. That's how life works, and you are maneuvering, going through your own issues and your own problems, not knowing somebody has some potential conflict. But from an Israel standpoint, we should match our thinking around this concept of, okay, when I'm going through something, maybe I should look at what God has already done for me and look around me and know that God can pull me out of this. It's not as bad as it seems, and others have it way worse. If you can tap into that ideology from a psychological standpoint, you will transcend your problem. Doesn't mean your problem will go away. Your problem may stay here, but your mind doesn't have to be in your problem. You may not have a lot of money financially, but your mind don't have to be poor. See, poverty is a mindset because you start making yourself sick. Because you say poor is sick, so I'm going to be sick. What's wrong with, oh, and I don't have no money, so now I'm more sick. And God may say, no, you're not sick, nothing wrong with you. Look, look, I'm so sick. Because we start putting a mindset of poverty. Oh, I'm poor. You're not even your name. You're not a Christian. You're not black, white, male, female. I'm poor. Oh, really? That's all you are? Yep, that's it. I'm poor. I'm a poor person. If you want to be poor, this society gladly puts you with the have-nots and say, okay, be poor then. America not going to do nothing if you feel you want to be poor. America wish more people would have that mindset. Just go over here with the poverty people. America is a land of opportunity. You have to take your mind. This is where a lot of people from other countries come here confused. Nobody gonna go to America and say, oh, hey, brother, you need some help? You need some help? You need help, sister? America don't operate like that. That's their brochure they tell y'all before you get here. America takes. You gotta wake up and be like, you know what? I'm gonna come back with a job. That's how America is. Ain't nobody just passing out jobs. Hell, anybody need a job over here? Any jobs? We got jobs. America does not operate that way. It's a land of opportunity, the pursuit of happiness, not a guarantee. The pursuit, you may never get it. Anybody pursue some money but don't get it? When I go to the casino, I be pursuing a win, but I never win. But they tell me it's a pursuit of winning. I don't never win though. That's how life is. Sometimes you got to look at things and be like, okay, it's a mindset. How are old people running faster than me is because they're already seeing and envisioning themselves as a winner. I'm already saying my leg hurt, my back hurt, my knee hurt, my elbow hurt. I'm not going to win. If you say you're not going to win, you're not going to win. But if you go with the mindset of, you know what, I could do this. I'm pretty good running. I could beat these people. You have a much, much better chance. Same thing with your day. If you start your day off and be like, man, yesterday sucked. Today gonna be bad. Most likely today will be bad. But if you say, you know what, yesterday is gone. That day never coming back. Today is a new day. I'm gonna have the best day I possibly can have. Your perspective will change. It's gonna take Israel a long time to learn that. And generation to generation, they're gonna forget. But as Christians, we have to speed that up. Too many of us are too downtrodden and emotionally broken in our lives when Hebrews 11, the last 2-3 verses say, all these famous people and the amazing things they did, wish they could see what you see. You have it better. You have the Holy Spirit living inside you as a baptized Christian. Why do you feel defeated daily? That's the difference. Doesn't mean just because you become a Christian, you be a millionaire. But just because there's somebody saved homeless and somebody lost homeless, don't mean that both of them feel homeless. Because a Christian should be like, oh, I'm not homeless. And the other homeless person say, well, you sleep next to me. What you talking about? I'm not homeless. A Christian person in jail should be like, I'm not in jail. And the other inmates should be like, where are you? My mind way out of here. I'm gone from here. Christian person should be, I'm not in a bad marriage. And the spouse said, you not worried who you married to then, because I'm in a bad marriage. Christian person said, not me, I'm in a great marriage. My mind way from this bed. My mind somewhere else, blessed. Put your mind somewhere. Remember, you're made in the image of God. God speaks things into existence. right? God was like, you know what? There should be light right about now. And what the Bible said, boom, light was like, whoa, we don't even know what we are, but let's just be it. God just kept saying, I want to see this. Make this thing. Oh, the water don't go no further. The shores are good. Let's just make this shore. Let's put beach here. People like to play on the beach and lay out in the holiday time. Things just start popping up because God spoke them into existence. That's why when you go to therapy, sometimes they tell you write your goals down where you can see them because it will keep reminding you of where you're going. Do you have goals individually or as family? Family, do y'all have goals? Hey, we got a family goal for 2017 to get to 2018. Do you have physical goals, financial goals, spiritual goals? Hey, I want to read the Bible in a year. I want to memorize the 5 steps of salvation. I want to be able to do a ladies' Bible study, or I want to serve instead of pass, or I want to lead sing. Do you have some goals? I want to have a better job in 6 months than I do now. That's the problem. People speak a lot of hot air into the atmosphere, but only a couple people actually do. Christians need to be more about doing because it's better for your own life. And remember, the church is just made up of people. So when a church have a church full of members who are down and out mentally, that's going to impact them spiritually, and the entire congregation going to be down and out. Sometimes you go to a congregation, you walk in and be like, y'all all right in here? People say, what you mean? We praying and worshiping. Someone say, hey, I was church. You be like, they weird there. Why? I don't know. They just, everybody still looks sad or something. And sometimes if you were that member, you say, I don't know what you mean. Person say, oh, I can't really describe it. It's just the feeling that I get or the vibe. Other times you go to church, you say, man, those people mad happy. They were just hugging and laughing and joking. Man, they must be blessed. That's people's correlation. People say, no, we actually doing worse than that other group you was at. But our mind is not in our problem. Now, when people hear things like this, some people say, oh, this sounds like some fairy tale or some drug trippy looks nonsense that you're talking about. But that's the same thing when Jesus said, if you have faith, you tell this mountain, hey, you should relocate over here. And people have already thought he was crazy. That's why you don't have no faith. Because you already discounting the possible. That's why people don't be saved. Because while you teaching them the Bible, in their mind during the Bible study, they already saying this is stupid. They just waiting for you to finish. And therefore, the word will not pierce them. But to the people that seize on it, is power. And they say, you know what? I could do this. Read that again. That could be me. And that's how those people are successful in this life and the next. Where do you want to be today or this week? What week do you want to have? Stop talking about America, the president, your job, where you live, your bank account. Throw all those things to the side and look in the mirror and say, where do I want to be every day God wakes me up? Do I want to have a better day? Some of us don't want to have no better day. That's the truth. And misery love company. And some of us say, I'm miserable, so everyone around me going to be miserable.
That's true.
Amen. People walk in the house, they kick the door and say, I had a bad day, so everyone about to have a bad day. You say, we had a good day. Not in a second, you're not going to have no good day. That's how some people are. You have to rise above your circumstances and your surroundings. I'm talking about you. From ear to ear, inside, your mind's eye, where do you want to be for the rest of today? What kind of worship you want to have? Mediocre or not? You say, oh, it's cold in here, so I'm not going to sing loud. Or I'm tired, I'm hungry. It's hot. This person's sitting next to me. I don't want them to sit here. Man, why they don't put soda in the back instead of water? Some people already in a couple minutes going to be grumpy about nothing. Some other people are saying, you know what? I barely made it here. I could have died last night. I was somewhere I had no business being. So when it comes to pray and singing, I'm going to be the best. I might stand up. The rest of them bowing down, I may stand up. I may lay on the ground and pray. That's how excited I am. That's up to you because it's all on how you want to have your worship. It's like dancing. When you go out somewhere, you ever see some people just two-stepping, but some couples you look and be like, what song they dancing to? Because they are getting it in because they don't care nothing what other people doing, right? They happy about whatever they happy about. The rest of us just looking like, They not on beat, the song changed, but they thinking, who cares? Because we're in our own world. You should live your life like that. Why are you letting other people's happiness or upset affect you? You go to work happy, but then you like, oh, I can't be happy because everyone upset. I don't care what everyone else doing. If I want to be happy today, I'm going to be happy today. That's what's my result. If everyone in my house not happy, too bad for them.
Amen.
I pray for you, but I'm going to have a great day. Sun out here, I might touch a beach up. I might go for a ride, catch a movie. People, you ask them, you want to do something? No. You want to get something to eat? No. You want to go to the movies? No. You want frozen yogurt? No. All right, forget you then. You just want to be miserable, but I'm about to go get some frozen yogurt. People say, oh, I don't want to get no frozen yogurt, so you shouldn't leave either. I don't want to be in here upset with you. That's a mindset, because your emotional state impacts your spiritual state. That's what Christians aren't realizing anymore in this society. How you are emotionally impact how you're going to work. So if you allow your finances to downtrodden you this week emotionally, just most likely in a couple minutes, you're going to have a mediocre worship service. Because emotionally, you checked out, so spiritually you're going to check out. Because you let your physical problem overshadow your spiritual blessings. That's a mindset. We have to be willing to put ourselves in the proper mindset and the proper perspective, and God will bless us. But that part is up to us. Some of the times what we pray for, God said, I already said yes to that 6 months ago. You keep asking me for the same thing. Think about how embarrassing that would be if God came through the cloud and said, what? What is it? You say, oh, God, you talking? Yes. Stop asking me for the same thing. It's around the corner. Oh, sorry, I didn't even look there. What if God treat us that way? Because that's how we act. What if somebody keep asking you, right? Or a kid keep telling on you, hey, what? Stop. Kids start running. Oh, goodness, don't hit me. What? You irritating me. What if God act that way to it? You've been praying the same thing 6 months. I say yes, first prayer. Why you keep asking me for this? Wasting the prayer request card paper. Somebody else could have wrote a prayer request on that. What if he treat us that way and say, look, I already said yes. You upset for no reason. Be happy and get your blessing. Your mind. Some of us in here are going to say, you know what? I'm going to leave and I'm going to put my mind somewhere else. Some of us say, oh, no, this is stupid, so I don't want to think about it. And that's going to be the difference of people who have a great day, a great week, a great life spiritually, and who have a mediocre day, mediocre week, and mediocre Christianity. Because it's based off of this. You, not external circumstances. These people were being lit on fire, happy. I'm about to see Jesus in 10, 9, 8, 7, losing consciousness 6. Wasn't that Stephen's concept? I'm about to get out of here. Wait, almost. Stephen looked up and said, look, I'm dying so fast. I can see Jesus. I'm about to get out of here. We out here not even dying and crying. Stephen's going to be like, I don't know what y'all complaining about. Because it's perspective. Put your perspective in a different place and you'll be blessed tremendously. All right, let's end here. Next week we'll look at this lesson 13. Unfortunately, Uncle Mo dies next week. Moses dies. He's very old. We'll look at this in detail. And then for the next couple of weeks, we'll be in this. And then as amazing as it is, we'll be in the final section of this book, probably in 2 or 3 weeks, which is them entering Canaan. So we're almost done with this first half of the service. So we're doing good here. Okay, let's go to God in prayer and we'll transition into worship. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful and blessed day. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to study a portion of your word. We ask, dear God, that we will learn to approach you in reverence. That way we know that we will not be disrespectful in the way in which we approach you in prayer and worship, first and foremost. We then ask also that we will be able to listen to the answer in which you give, knowing you answer all prayers. We ask that your will be done in all things in which we ask you in our personal life. And we also ask, dear God, that you will give us the self-control to be able to, and the knowledge and wisdom to be able to see right and wrong, but to choose right. For we know that that impacts our relationship with you as well. As we transition into worship service, we ask that we have a great worship. Be with those traveling at this time without the loss or harm of any, as we are united through your love and Christ's blood momentarily. And we ask that our worship service be presented to you a sweet smelling aroma to thy throne. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. Thank you to all of our Bible readers and everyone who had comments. Much appreciated.